This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Okay, whilst it's a time of year where you could potentially grab a deal on some pieces of gear that you may or may not have been interested in. So yesterday I did this sort of video looking at the psychology maybe of this Black Friday thing and trying to avoid buying pieces of gear that you would not have otherwise been interested in, or me this is, if it were not for the half price kind of thing. Because in the past I've done that sort of thing, buying guitars, and it's never worked out, and I can't remember any pieces of gear that I've got that way that I actually held on to. The idea is that this will be my kind of favourite pieces of gear that I've bought this year. You know, there'd be no point in me doing this at the end of the year necessarily, given that potentially the opportunity for people to get deals is now. The rule to this is it has to be a piece of gear that I've actually bought, so things that might have been sent to me by companies won't be included in this video, because I don't think that's particularly in keeping with the idea of the video. It has to be stuff that I've spent my money on, and hopefully in that way this seems more kind of authentic than something else. Anyway, so before that, actually there's a few things that I bought this year which wouldn't fall into the regret category, but they were not sensible decisions. I bought a Mesa Boogie Road King and sold that. I bought a Mesa Boogie Mark 1 reissue head and sold that. I think I bought a 2-Rock Jet 35 amp and sold that as well. All of those were relatively impulsive decisions, and to be honest, at this point now, one of the things with gas with amps is I'd say that to really get over gas with amps, you probably have to buy a few. And once you've bought a few and not turned them on for ages, you'll probably find that the gas starts to subside, and then maybe the next time you see an amp that you thought you wanted, next time you'll think, well, I've already got these 3 or 4 that I bought this year that I then sold because I never used them. Maybe that's a way to get over gas, aside from other strategies like having no money and having no space. Those are also useful strategies. This one sort of falls into the third time's a charm category, where I bought 2 of these at the earlier price of about £900 in the UK. For some reason, about a month ago, in the UK, the green ones fell down to sort of about £600-ish in a few places. So I grabbed one, and I thought for around that amount of money, this is a really nice guitar and a really nice offer. You know, you've got a vintage style radius, you've got quite a nice C-shaped medium kind of neck. You know, not the skinnier type of neck that you normally find at this end of the market. So all around a pretty good buy for less than £700, I'd say. So if you see one of these and you were thinking about grabbing one, then I'd say if you see one come up for less than £700, I'd say that could be worth a look in the UK. I don't know how, if they're discounting them overseas as well, but for some reason people specifically didn't gravitate towards the green one, I guess. So these were on sale for a while in the UK. So if you wanted a green Strat-ish looking thing with birds on it, there's really only one way to go. I'm quite happy with this purchase because this actually saved me quite a bit of money. So at some point, I think in around February, I borrowed from Paul a Gibson ES335. At the time, I think a few people had said, can you try some Gibsons on the channel? And Paul from up the road had a Gibson faded Memphis ES335 that I tried, and I really quite liked it. So at the time I thought, right, well, I haven't got a Sire H7 and I really like Sire guitars, so I bought this one from Anderton's. Sort of, it's sat in the room occasionally being played, and then Tony from up the road let me borrow a Greco Super Reel, so a super rare guitar from the 80s, and I was really enjoying that one as well, and started to develop this kind of ES335 gas again. Okay, well that camera's out of battery. Anyway, so yes, I am in the middle of sort of trialing and just doing an A-B comparison of the Greco Super Reel, a very expensive guitar if you wanted to get one now, and also the Gibson Memphis ES335. I picked this one up expecting potentially to be disappointed, but wasn't, and actually felt like it had quite a lot of similarities to the Gibson and had a lot of that vibe to it. And although I wouldn't say it was better than or necessarily competed with it per se, I did feel like it certainly sat there and felt like an ES335 for the money. The playability is great. I think the playability is great full stop. Sire tend to, I think, make great guitars. So I bought this one and was very impressed with it, and it stopped me buying a more expensive ES335, which I think would have been a mistake, because the ES335 kind of instrument is not one that I'm going to play a ton. So this fulfills that, you know, occasional role quite nicely. Sort of tried to think about any pedals that I might have bought this year that fit into this category, and I honestly can't really think of any. Maybe the Hotone Ampero Stomp sort of impressed me, although I think there are a few little issues around sort of sounds dropping out when you hold buttons and stuff like that, so that might not be one for the list. I say the HX Stomp, but you already know about that one, and I use that all the time, but it did just have the 3.5 update, and I think it's a better pedal than ever now, so maybe that one. But something I did sort of change my mind on to some extent was the Boss Waza-Airs. Now, I bought these used for £209, and at the time I sort of thought these are quite expensive for the experience that I was having. Since then, it's now quite a few months later, I've actually started using these more and more and more, and I'd say they're an important part of my sort of guitar practice at this point. Or at least my guitar enjoyment, because I can just chuck these on downstairs with a phone and stick on Spotify and play along to stuff, and I'm having a lot of fun exploring the guitar with these. I'd say these are probably the best headphone experience that you can get. Well, that's all there is to it, really. I think that there's no other headphone playing experience that quite matches the Boss Waza-Airs, so they do a really good job in that respect. Yes, if you buy them full price, they're quite expensive, but at the moment on Amazon, you can get them for 30% off in the UK. So if you were thinking about those, I think that might be a good plan. Boss also sent me somewhere the little foot switch, which I've been using, and sort of I think this could be a really kind of neat way to practice a gig. Basically, silent practice is a real thing that some people need, but also there's no sort of barrier between you and practicing particularly. You just pick them up, and as long as they're charged, you can have a great time with them. So the Boss Waza-Airs, I think, is the best piece of gear that I bought this year in terms of actually using it for prolonged periods of time. Has it actually made me play the guitar a bit more? Yes. The only negative with them is that it's sort of a closed off ecosystem, and I can't actually record with them and do my job with them. That's the one downside, you know, like I can't use these to record guitar playing. They are just a practice tool or an enjoyment tool. I think if there was to be a Boss Waza-Air Mark II, having a recording output would be a really useful thing, because then I could actually do my job with them as well, you know, whether that be recording real tracks, whether it be, you know, demoing tones with them. It could become part of a workflow rather than just part of a practice. those are my thoughts on the best things that I bought this year as someone who has bought quite a bunch of stuff. The amps, I think, have been largely, although interesting, and I think it was fun to own a rectifier for the first time, ultimately probably a bit of a waste of time. If I had to choose one amp that I bought this year that was interesting to me, it'd be the Line 6 Catalyst. And I was really impressed by that. There's other videos on that. But I did buy that from Yamaha, so I guess that sort of counts. But yeah, I think that'd be top of the list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've got pieces of gear that you bought. Oh, and if you want to like and subscribe, you could. Apparently there's quite a few of you who watch the channel that are not subscribed, so if you want to do that, that could be something that you do. It's free, innit? Anyway, I'll catch you in another video soon. Cheers.